Imagine you wake up tomorrow morning and your phone still works. Your watch still counts the hours. But outside your window, there is no window. There is no house. There is only a river, a forest, and something moving in the trees that has never seen a human face like yours before. You have every piece of modern knowledge in your head. You have no modern world to use it in. What actually happens to you? Most people assume the answer is simple. Modern human, ancient world, easy win. Better brain, better tools, better chances. But the real answer is far stranger and far more humbling than anything you have been taught to expect. Start with the body you are standing in. It looks like the body of your ancestors 40,000 years ago. It is not the same body in practice. Your hands have never split wood with a stone axe. Your feet have never walked 20 miles a day on bare ground. Your gut has never digested raw meat, raw roots, or unfiltered river water. You carry the same genome. You do not carry the same calluses, the same gut bacteria, or the same tolerance for parasites that a Paleolithic forager carried without even noticing. This is the first collision. Knowledge is not the same thing as capacity. You might know, in theory, that fire needs dry tinder and a spark. Do you know it well enough to make fire in under 10 minutes, in the rain, with shaking hands, while something unseen is calling out in the dark? Prehistoric children knew. They had done it since they were 6 years old. You have watched videos of it. Here is where the story gets genuinely strange. Anthropologist Richard Wrangham has spent decades studying one very specific idea: that fire is the reason humans exist in the shape you know today. Cooked food unlocks far more calories than raw food. Your ancestors' guts shrank over evolutionary time because cooking did the digesting for them, outside the body, before the food ever reached their mouths. Your brain, greedy and expensive, grew larger because cooking gave it the fuel to grow. In other words, you are not just a creature who uses fire. You're a creature who was built by fire, generation after generation, until your very biology depended on it. So drop you into a world before your phone, before your supermarket, before your kitchen, and the first real test is not intelligence. It is fire. Lose that thread, and everything else collapses with it. Now think about numbers, not calories. People. You probably assume that surviving alone is the hard part. It is not. Surviving alone is nearly impossible, and it was nearly impossible for prehistoric humans too. Oxford anthropologist Robin Dunbar built an entire body of research around one number, roughly 150. That is the rough limit of stable relationships a human brain can meaningfully track and trust. Not because humans are weak. Because human survival was never a solo sport. It was a group sport, and the size of your social brain evolved specifically to manage that group. A modern human alone in a prehistoric landscape is not a superhero. You are a single data point in an equation built for cooperation. No one to share the night watch. No one to carry you if you break an ankle 2 days from any camp. No one to remember the location of the last safe water source. Your knowledge of physics, chemistry, and history does not replace the thing you are actually missing, which is people who have already mapped this land in their heads. Would you even know how to join a group like that if you found one? This is where it gets uncomfortable. Because joining is not just walking up and explaining you come from the future. Prehistoric human groups were not simple. They had status, obligation, gift exchange, storytelling, ritual, and deeply held rules about who eats first and who speaks last. Anthropologist Kim Hill, who has lived among modern hunter-gatherer communities for years, has documented how tightly these rules are woven into daily survival. Food sharing is not kindness. It is insurance. Today, you give away your extra meat. Tomorrow, when your hunt fails, someone gives meat back to you. Break that unspoken contract, misread a gesture, refuse to share, and you are not just rude. You are a liability the group cannot afford to keep. Your modern instincts might actually work against you here. You're used to private ownership. You're used to walking away from people who annoy you. You're used to eating alone if you want to. None of that works in a system built entirely around interdependence. The most dangerous thing you could do in that first contact is act like an individual. The safest thing you could do is act like you already understand you are now part of something larger than yourself. So picture it now, more specifically. Your phone still has 40% battery and no signal. Your watch tells you it is 3:47 in the afternoon. Somewhere behind a ridge, smoke rises from a fire that is not yours. What do? The honest answer is, you probably freeze. Not because you are a coward, but because every decision in this moment is unfamiliar. Approach too fast, and you look like a threat. Approach too slow, and night falls before you reach safety. Carry your phone visibly, and you introduce an object no one in that group has ever seen. One that could look like fire, could look like a weapon, could look like nothing at all. Your modern tools do not translate. A flashlight is not obviously useful to someone who has never needed one. A lighter is a miracle until the battery or fuel runs out, and you are the person who once had fire and now, mysteriously, does not. Here is the counterintuitive twist researchers keep circling back to. It is not your tools that would help you most. It is your knowledge of patterns. You know, in a way no prehistoric human could. That seasons repeat. That migrations follow water. That certain plants are edible across huge regions of the world because you have read about ecosystems in general, not just the one outside your window. That kind of abstract, transferable knowledge is exactly what large, complex human brains were built for in the first place. Anthropologist Sarah Hrdy has argued that human cognition evolved not just for hunting or tool use, but for the demands of cooperative child-rearing and constant social prediction. Reading intentions. Reading patterns. Reading what happens next. That is the one advantage you would actually carry with you. Not your gadgets. Your pattern recognition, sharpened by a world of information you cannot physically bring, but can still think with. Would that be enough to earn your place, though? Probably not on day one. Trust in these societies was built slowly, through consistent, small, repeated acts. Showing up to help gather firewood. Noticing which berries make the children sick and saying so before anyone asks. Sitting quietly instead of speaking first. These are small things. They are also, according to researchers who study group cohesion, exactly the behaviors that determine whether a stranger becomes a member or becomes a memory. Over weeks, not hours. And that timeline is the real reframe here. Modern life has trained you to expect fast belonging. A follow, a like, an introduction, and suddenly you're in. Prehistoric belonging did not work that way, and in truth, the version of belonging that actually keeps humans alive never has. It is slow. It is earned. It is built on the same currency it was built on 40,000 years ago. Showing up, sharing, and being predictable in a way that makes you safe to stand next to in the dark. So here is the final, uncomfortable mirror. You do not actually need a time machine to test any of this. You are already living inside a version of it, right now, today. You already carry a brain built for tribes of about 150. You already carry a gut and a metabolism shaped by fire and cooked food. You already carry instincts for sharing, reciprocity, and slow-earned trust, whether or not you ever use them. The prehistoric human is not a separate species standing on the other side of some imaginary line. That version of you is still running the software underneath everything you call modern life. Which means the real question was never about surviving in the past. It was about noticing how much of the past is still surviving in you. Right now, in the room you are sitting in, on the device you're using to hear this.